Where were we? Hello everyone, it's System Chalk here with the 5th episode of The Priest. I do apologize for the abrupt ending to the previous episode. Real life does sometimes come in. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the plans that I have for scheduling because I suspect, I think this will probably be coming online on a Wednesday, and I don't think I communicated my plans that well, so I will leave that for the end of the video though. Let's jump into the game. So where we left things, we have a notoriety on the table which we have currently been painting away. Now, I don't believe I'm going to be able to generate Mystique fast enough to permanently avoid notoriety, and in fact we've been painting the notoriety so much that it's going to be lasting for a particularly long time as well. So certain paintings are definitely going to be improving my Mystique. It's not impossible for me to to be able to build a reputation out of these things, but I do need to try and figure out some sort of a system by which I can gain a lot of Mystique and feel comfortable enough to keep the notoriety on the table. So one way of doing that is painting. Another way of doing that is trying to recruit more followers. This takes up passion, so there is a little bit of a kind of a trade-off between these two approaches. The other one would be to fulfill commissions. However, the commission I have right now is a very substantial commission on Grail, which I currently don't have access to. Now, the likelihood is that we are going to be caught by the Weary Detective. I don't know if the game is set up to always sort of fail the first attempt, but what I am going to do is I'm going to try and generate as much Mystique as I can to get past it. We're very early in Harold Davidson's career. He's already been moved out once because of some unknown indiscretions, and we need to, we try not to get too much attention on him early. So that's what we're going to do for the first little while. I know this is going to seem a little rote, but right now I'm trying to make sure that I don't do something that will cause some hurt. Okay. Now I've got 8 funds. This is normally a time I would consider buying a... Oh wait, yes, I recall what I was going to do. So normally this is the time I would consider buying some more books from Morland's, but it did occur to me another thing that I may want to do is try and eliminate some evidence. It's maybe a little early to try and get rid of the Weary Detective. So in this particular case, I can send out one of my followers. In this case, we'll send Pope Clifton. He improvises new prayers rich with solar metaphors. He still shouts like a soldier and drinks like a sailor. Crowded thoroughfares by day, a fog-wrapped labyrinth by night. I'll set my minions to searching for opportunities. It's very unlikely that we're going to wind up getting exactly the type of hire that we need, sort of at the right moment, but it is worth taking the attempt. So Fortune Teller's not bad. It's 5 lantern and 3 moth though. What I would want would be the 5 the 5 moth. So we'll leave that aside. We do have a Season of Despair, Dark Days. I must be careful not to let doubts creep in. And perfectly understandable given that I am the target of an investigation right now, so. All conviction. The world goes away. We eliminated the threat of any dread through this painting, so we're fine there. And having read whatever's to hand, the first thing I need to do is combine these erudition into something that'll be a little more long-lived. Now, it would be great to try and combine these glimmerings into another passion, but my focus right now is on reason. That's just because we inherited that previously. From the previous session, I mean. My recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. So, there's a Mystique for my trouble. There's some extra contentment if I need it. That's particularly helpful for the dread in case something unexpected comes up there. We still have 3 staleness, so that's not really going to help me too much. Alright, so if I do my sermon, then I'm going to run the risk of... actually, I have a little bit of a choice to make here. Okay. I'm not going to generate income. I'm actually going to wait 8.4 seconds, and the reason will be apparent in just a moment. It relates to this Mystique here. Alright, so this is basically a die roll for the notoriety, and it's only going to get worse, but this Mystique was going to die one way or the other. So this isn't going to be my best painting. I would in fact prefer to use the Passion. But we'll work with what we've got. So, you know what? Enid deserves a little bit better than just a road effort. So let's do a painting on Glimmering. Better still, I can extend the life of the erudition by painting how clever I am. So I'm not going through the wood right now because my passion is something that should be... essentially, I want to try and clear out the staleness. So once again, we're trying to get someone to deal with evidence if it comes up. So that's why we're going to use Pope Clifton to explore the city. And as always, we're just going to wait. We are going to get a little extra mystique after this event finishes. Okay, fleeting reminiscence. The wolf despair prowls elsewhere. No dread empowers this despair. It's over for now. And a trembling in the air, so now we want to avoid fascination. Another season of suspicion. This basically counts as a free turn because one way or the other it will definitely not have resolved within 42 seconds, even if it does pick up the notoriety, which is looking quite, I'd say quite likely in this case. Okay, next up, I do want another erudition lesson learned, so we are going to study with our reason. The world is awash with printed words. Even the newspapers contain knowledge sometimes. Recent work has drawn some attention. Something should sell. So you'll notice here, so that's 2 Mystique that we got for it, and then the there's the 1 Mystique that was expiring here. So one thing that's a little bit helpful, if you're ever wondering, so I've said this a couple of times, I don't necessarily think the best way to approach Cultist Simulator is the very sort of systematic, I'm going to think a lot about the mechanics of the game and I'm just going to try and break it down that way. So that is to say that my tendency to try and work out the ideal timings of things and to try and you know, wring the most out of some of my cards isn't necessarily... it's not necessarily something I would say you want to spend a whole lot of time thinking about. It's very much a function of my personality. And actually, there was a conversation with someone involved with this game that I had where they said that it seemed like I had a very different way of thinking about the game than they did, which I think is the way it should be, right? Because this game definitely speaks to the player in different ways. I think this definitely comes across in terms of what legacies you like the most. The Dadsir legacy is one that I understand, and actually is one that I had a great appreciation from, partly through streaming, but it's not quite the same as what I think the reaction would be from some of my other friends, who are maybe in a slightly better position, and you know, some of the topics might be a little bit more relevant. So again, I don't want to spend too much time because I know these episodes are a bit shorter. But in this particular case here, again, what I'm really trying to do is keep the number of Mystique on the table as much as possible. When I see this 8 seconds here, well, I can compare that against the sort of the ticking clock of the investigation. One way or another, this Mystique is going to go away. So this means that unless I wind up finishing a painting right around the time for this to sort of turn into the into less than 8 seconds, and it's always going to go down by a little bit because I'm not perfect on the pauses. But essentially, this is my free Mystique to kind of keep everything on the table. So it means that this is going to be another die roll. Now, the thing is that, you know, if you ask yourself the question, you know, if I roll the 6-sided die, what happens if I get a 1? At some point, you're going to get that 1. And in fact, if you say, if I do it 5 times, you know, what's the likelihood of a 1? It's actually pretty, you know, you'd feel pretty comfortable that that possibility is going to come up. So that's why I'm talking like we're going to have the evidence come after us, particularly because we still have 200 seconds to go on this. But the shift to my approach here has been, I want to keep generating paintings because those are going to keep me in, well, potentially a little bit of money, but they're also going to help bolster my reputation. It's going to give me the period of time that I can potentially let the notoriety expire. Again, this was as a result of my congregation. But I don't have enough Mystique on the board right now to say with certainty that we're going to have enough to let the we have enough that we're feeling comfortable with the investigation. We'll see, though. Right. All right, so we've got Laidlaw. I think I need to... What I'll do to make life a little bit easier, I'm going to need to sort out my followers a bit better, but I'll just do these in rows. So mentors, followers, and associates. And there's my passion. I forgot there's an extra mystique waiting for me there. So, in the same spirit, we're going to talk about esoteric matters. Talking publicly about the invisible arts will attract attention. Perhaps that's what I want. So normally I would want to do a painting right away, but we do have 3.8 seconds before I get a bunch of passion back. And I do want to take advantage of that for painting. With any luck, we can remove the staleness, given that that's a nice way that we can generate some income without potentially generating notoriety. So we'll throw the mystique in there. In this case, let's do a painting about Enid. It'd be kind of nice to have like a Grail follower for that. Okay, professional muscle. I'll break them in half. In this case, I don't really think we're at the point where we want to murder the weary detective. Murdering the weary detective is not going to get rid of the evidence. So we are. I think I'll leave the funds for now. We're not really doing this for money, and I don't think spending money will enhance the reputation elements. Okay, once again we send out Clifton. And Season of Sickness coming up, so if I can, it would be nice to generate a little vitality. An overlooked place, so this won't necessarily help me too much, but... I think in this case here, as nice as it would be to do Street Strange by Moonlight, I am going to send Clifton out to find more bodies. This may provoke... Sorry, this is something special. It may provoke a reaction. There is always the risk that we're going to generate fascination with so much effort. But again, there's ways that we can deal with fascination. For instance, we've got 35 seconds of a fleeting reminiscence. So if we generate one now, we've got an open dream slot. Now what I am interested in here, so if I would like to improve my scholarship, I need 2 lessons learned. This one's available for 236 seconds. We've got another 100 seconds here. So in order to head off the expense of the Season of Sickness, I'm actually going to get fresh air and exercise. Long walks kill cobwebs. This is my body. There are other bodies, but this one is mine, and my mind needs it, like a fungus needs soil. Alright, my recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. So there is that beloved mystique that we always look for. This is my pocket mystique. Got some passion. Now I'm not going to put this into the painting because in 0.6 seconds we're going to find out whether or not we found a follower. In fact, I want to be careful about this with the mystique, but I think I can afford the... Okay, yep, so can't put reason into it. But I can coast on my reputation a little bit. Alright, so this is a bomb maker. Perhaps we shouldn't discuss politics just yet. So this seems like a little bit, in some cases you can sort of see this as a little bit of a drag, right? Where we've got this interesting story about the disgraced priest who visits, or who has a new congregation, and it's done enough to sort of generate the attention of the Suppression Bureau. And especially spending, you know, an episode or two on this topic can sometimes feel like things are on hold. One of the biggest reasons why I'm doing it right this moment is because we are early enough and we don't have enough flexibility in our ability to generate new followers that the threat of the Suppression Bureau is a bit more... it's definitely a bit more intense than it normally would be. So it's why I'm spending this time here, because this is the sort of thing which maybe it won't end the run, but it is something that we do need to take a bit more seriously than we would at other times. I produce nothing of use or significance at all. I should be ashamed of myself. Still, if I have a reputation, it might sell. Well, we did get rid of one of the overexposure, it looks like. Oh, maybe not. Recent work has attracted a couple callers. With luck, something will sell. Biggest problem here is that the mystique wasn't used. And, more importantly, this mystique will be going away in 3 seconds. However, that's also true of this Mystique, so we'll let this one die a dignified death, and this will become our new hang on. Okay, that vitality will get picked up in just a moment. Come with me, Clovette. All right. So we're ready to do something a little more serious as far as painting is concerned, so we'll throw... In fact, there's really nothing saying that I have to put any Mystique inside of this. Well, I guess I want to hang on to at least one, just so I can keep using it for those times I don't want to put passion inside. Okay, inspiration. I mean, we could do another painting on Enid, but let's try it again. Let's see if we've learned anything. All right, so we'll keep this vitality beside the dream slot. Again, I've become unwell. And now I need to make sure that I turn my erudition into a lesson learned. So this is going to take 60 seconds here. I've picked up odd facts here and there. If I spend time studying what I've learned, I could increase my reason. And here we've got 175 seconds, so we should still have 110 when the time comes to upgrade our scholarship. More importantly, I think we've got 2 more rolls on the investigation, so we may get lucky. But just in case, we're going to continue generating Mystique. Okay. Again, we won't spend money on the paints. It's kind of nice when we use the passion because we may help out with the overexposure. Oddly enough, it's been pretty good for the pocketbook, but I don't want to rely on it, obviously. Alright, entry consultant. I'm good with doors. And we have a Season of Ardors coming up, so if I need the contentment, then... I mean, I'm probably already going to generate it through painting, and I don't have any dread. In fact, dread is something that's helpful for us for recruitment. So it's not something too precious right now, but good to keep in mind. The illness has damaged my health. I will need to rest before I am fully recovered. Cure your affliction with funds or vitality. Disease has left me weak. I need rest and nourishment if I am to recover. So we will take our vitality and heal up. Now we potentially could have got vitality through dream, and there's a couple of other opportunities there, but in this case it wasn't too much of a sacrifice to just use the study verb to prepare for the sickness. So a little bit like me, I've been trying to get a better bedtime because I've been feeling rather ill for the past few weeks. And, you know, as much as I hate to admit it, just simply being able to, you know, to get a proper night's sleep is, and keeping disciplined on that is enough. So I always like to think that that's me taking my study verb, and instead of, you know, reading another textbook, it's actually using the bed for what it was intended for. Alright, so Fleeting Reminiscence, we've got, looks like just 1 Mystique out of that, but we did get a Glimmering. Oh, my apologies. 2 Mystique. So things are kind of looking up in that regard. Let's take a look at what... Okay, we also lost some staleness out of that, so that makes me happy. And we're also up a funds. So once again, I don't want to... this 6.4 is a little bit of a... Actually, in this case I'm willing to do it because this is going to be the last roll of the dice with the Suppression Bureau. My mind, the library. Knowledge is a city... knowledge is a city wall built stone by stone. But what waits in the darkness beyond the walls? Why would we need a fortress except that we had something to fear? So we will become wiser. So the reason I'm waiting here is I want to see whether or not a passion will get picked up on the talk verb, and it is. So time for us to use the Mystique. Now, I wouldn't normally have done this, except that in this particular case, I have to wonder if there's something about, you know what, I'm going to leave the Fleeting Reminiscence. Let's just do a mood piece about Glimmering. I have to wonder if doing the same image affect staleness. But yeah, what I wanted to do here was just see if I could throw a passion at the problem. I don't want to give it up because this will potentially generate mystique. And the technique did succeed in we gave enough distractions to the wary detective that we're now safe. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to avoid doing any sermons until we're fully past the season of suspicion. I'm not going to put the sermons on a complete hold every time we think there's a risk of investigation. But in this case here, let's not do a repeat. What I want to do is just eliminate the reputation and avoid, just be a little more careful next time. Have a better game plan. Some days are better than others. Sometimes the sky is nothing like a filthy sheet. Sometimes the river runs clear. And of course, as it turns out, if the notoriety had been picked up, we did get the experienced swindler just in time. How delightful to be working with you. But in this case, it is unnecessary. So let's see what happened to our reputation. My recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. So more glimmering. This would have been a wonderful opportunity to increase my passion, but it's, just a question of priorities. So notoriety's gone. We are going to have a while to digest this mystique, but that's fine. In fact, we'll probably be generating quite a few while I paint. But the aim right now is to just try and get my reputation back. So let's... So, again, I don't want this to be entirely about the mechanics of reputation, but it's kind of neat to talk a little bit about how I think of these things, because it may or may not be obvious for people, and it does seem that some people still like learning how the game works. So if we think about what I was trying to do, originally I wanted to rely on the fact, or not the fact, but I needed to try and find a way of making it so that the notoriety would expire while extending the amount of mystique on the table as possible. So what causes mystique to go away? Time. What causes notoriety to go away? Time. What's something that will cause these things to be extended? Well, painting them is one way that can happen, because when you are inside of a verb, that includes, by the way, setting up, although I'm paused here, so it's not as relevant. But if I were to say, take this mystique and put it inside here, and then unpause, this counter would stop. I don't like using this technique, but I do occasionally extend the life of a card that way. So the way that So for a while I was using the notoriety to generate some paintings and that, and I think some of it might have just been driven by a lack of a clear plan, but part of it I think was also just recognizing the fact that we didn't have a lot of mystique on the table, so I wanted to try and hide it away because the odds weren't with me. And then we focused on doing activities that would generate more mystique. So that's going to give me a couple of minutes of cover from the Suppression Bureau. But that strategy where I kept using notoriety in the painting, that doesn't last. The challenge with that one is that the timings don't perfectly line up. You can't hide the notoriety from the Suppression Bureau forever. And if it winds up being the only thing on the table, you're guaranteed to have it picked up. Well, how do you know it's going to be the only thing on the table? Well, of course, as you continue on, the mystique is going to tick down. Your notoriety is still going to be close to 300 seconds long, and you're in trouble. So what I wanted to do was keep notoriety on the table when there were lots of other cards, and so the probability of any single card being taken up was quite low. And then that was the period where I let it run down, whereas the periods where we had a small number of mystique were the times where I put it into painting just so that I could sort of build up that wall. So what I want to do now is I want the investigation to go away, and the investigation will go away when there's no more reputation, when they've sort of looked at every nook and cranny. Now, I'm going to be doing things that potentially generate mystique because I still want to play the game and I still want to get things done, but I do also want to get my sermons done, and if I do sermons, there's the chance that I generate a notoriety. So what I'm going to be doing in the meantime is when I use mystique in painting, I'm going to use the oldest mystique. And what this will mean is that essentially this investigation is going to continue going as long as there is a mystique on the board. But essentially I'm allowing all of these to decay at their own rate. And then of course, as it goes by, if let's say, this one is 58 seconds, if it were still on the board at the time that we finished the painting, obviously this would be the one that I put inside of it. This is a nice little way that you can ensure the maximum number of cards sort of falls down. Of course, if I had Passion, a fourth Passion, I could do that as well. But in this case here, there's no difference in terms of overall effect, because there's still going to be a mystique for the detective to pick up. So we'll do the same strategy here with the glimmering. We'll see if we can extend the life of these, because I've done my effort with erudition. Come with me. Right, Violet. Now, it does pain me a little bit to stop picking up new followers, but I did say I wanted to minimize the amount of mystique that I generate, so we're going to find other things to talk about, or potentially nothing. I've reordered the boundaries of my ignorance. Skill, notable scholarship. I have learnt enough to know how little I know. So if we were working at Glover & Glover, this would be wonderful, but for now, this is just some extra reason for me to kick around. Now, I do want to get my health up. As you can see, we had a bit of a scare when it came time for when the affliction came by, but like I said, I do want to make the most of the glimmering that I've got my hands on. In fact, let's start. Yeah, I'm not going to use this passion for recruitment. So let's read sentimental literature to get some extra glimmering. If I propose to learn anything, I wouldn't be reading this stuff. Eventually I'll start going to the Mansis with the passion as well, but for now I'd like to try and boost my knowledge, or my passion. Once again, we won't spend money on the colors of the night. This may eventually change because my staleness is going away, but for the time being, I'm going to be patient. And again, we don't worry about additional seasons of suspicion because you can't have more than one investigation going at any time. Alright, so if I want, I can send Pope Clifton out to explore again. This would be to get Street Strange by Moonlight. I don't think there's anything bad with that, but we're definitely not going to be recruiting anybody off of it. The other thing I could do would be to buy some books from Morland's. We are doing quite well for funds, so you know what, before we do that, let's pick up some fuel for our studies. It takes time to sort the gold from the dross, the wheat from the chaff, the blood from the water. If I buy enough books, I'll find something interesting. And we finished exceptional work, so there's another glimmering. Now, more painting is going to generate mystique, so I do want to keep an eye on how much I'm actually generating here. Okay, staleness is gone, which is good. I mean, I could just go for full reputation. I'm a little nervous doing this, to be honest, but let's see what happens if I do a full mystique painting, whether or not it generates any more. You never know, this might be a living. And let's do... I mean, I'm running into the same problem. Let's paint Pope Clifton this time around. This might be the last painting I do for a bit, because generating new mystique is kind of counter to the enterprise. I've passed the time, I've been inclined to tears, afterwards inclined to laughter. Meanwhile, the world continues. Okay, so let's go to the wood now. If I have enough passion, I can walk the dream road to wood. If I have the right knowledge, I might be able to find a way beyond it. Hang on, what am I doing? I think I wanted to boost up my glimmerings. The timings may be off, though, so if I think... So I'll take 60 seconds for one of these to turn them into a lesson learnt. These have less than 120. No, I need 60 seconds only, though. I'm going to take a chance that painting is going to get me an extra glimmering. If it doesn't, we're going to have a little bit of a tough time, but the extra passion would definitely be helpful. With that in mind, we will visit the wood. Now I pass between the scarbark trees. The moon passes behind branches, though her fingers remain in my hair. I'm stumbling over roots now. It is tempting to drop to all fours to avoid the low branches. Pale wings move deep in the night. And we have found Wrapped in the King. So we'll read the text for that when we're actually reading the book, because I'm rather bad at getting those done at the same time. what? I will pay for the paints this time because we are doing... I mean, full notoriety would be the best in terms of reputation, but this certainly will... this is a more profitable kind of painting. Honestly, I'm only going through the motions. There's nothing to be ashamed of here. Well, let's see what the public thinks. The recent work is considered significant. I may earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. So, really, we are only up one funds for it, but we did get the glimmering that we were hoping for. And it looks like we didn't generate any more mystique, so other than preserving... Well, even then, it's not fair to say that preserving the mystique hurt us for the same reason that we were talking about before. All of these are still fairly old. So I will do another passion-based one just because of the staleness, but I think that will generate mystique, and so again I need to consider another way of generating money, especially because I am buying things from Morland's. We picked up Hollow and Marseille, so we'll have plenty for the study, and we will do one more trip there, although I realize I'm getting close to the end of my time. So let's get one more painting in, and then I'll talk a little bit about the plans moving forward, and we will... I don't know how much I'll talk about sort of the future plans for the playthrough, but it wouldn't hurt to have a quick idea on where we're going. You know what, I am going to use Mystique. Okay, I believe this video is going to be going live on Wednesday. Sorry, I should stop playing the game if I'm going to talk about this stuff. So, there are more windows in my soul, but sunlight is not the only thing that passes through a window. So, this video should be coming out on a Wednesday, I believe. Now, my intention was sort of to do a kind of a weekdays, like I basically have some kind of a YouTube-specific video released every weekday. And the challenge is that because most of you know me through Cultist Simulator, and it is certainly by far the most popular thing that I do, most popular for me. I recognize I'm still a small fish, but it is completely understandable that will be perceived as being a Cultist Simulator video every weekday, and that's not strictly true. I never played the Elder Scrolls series before, and so I guess it's a couple years ago now, I decided that I would start with the very first one, Elder Scrolls Arena, and I would play at least the numbered entries of that series, so 2 Dragonfall, 3 Morrowind. I would actually play those through, and those would be pre-recorded videos which would be uploaded both to YouTube and Twitch. So that series is continuing to go. I'm now in Oblivion on the final DLC for that, the Shivering Isles. And because that has been a fairly regular thing that I have done for a while, even though there's a clear preference for Cultist Simulator, I have chosen to, I'm continuing to do that, and that is continuing on with its regular slot of Tuesdays at 7 o'clock. So that does mean, however, that if I can, and again, it is a very difficult schedule for me to hold. It's, as you can see, I'm sort of being interrupted partway through, and I'm going to need to record 2 more episodes for this week before the week is done. But the plan is, if I can, to have new Cultist Simulator videos, shorter ones, half hour, for Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then weekends are essentially when I get as much as I can, I try to record these. So I hope you stick with me. I apologize for not being a little bit clearer in terms of the videos, but if you're wondering why there is a gap on the Tuesday, it's just simply because there's another type of video that's going up. And I'm sure some of you will have noticed that there's basically now a video that kind of comes up in the morning and a video that comes up in the evening. So if you are really only here for the specially recorded for YouTube material, you'll definitely want to take a look at the ones that are released in the evening. Evening and Eastern time, obviously, you have your own time zones. But I don't want to belabor the point too much. Thank you very much for bearing with me. Thank you for watching. As always, I love it when you leave comments because it lets me know who you are and how you're engaging with it. And I have really appreciated it when you do leave the likes and the comments, the other events, the subscriptions, and so on and so forth. Again, the growth has been very pleasant to see. It's not something I was expecting, but it is something that I really appreciate, and it gives me a reason to keep moving forward with it. So thank you. I will see you in the next one, and I hope you have a good evening until then.